Olivia Carter had always trusted her instincts, especially when it came to people. She wasn't dramatic, jealous, or the type to create problems out of small things. But she wasn't blind either. Over the past year, she had noticed a pattern small moments that didn't seem harmful on their own, but together formed a feeling she couldn't ignore. The way Emily watched Daniel, the way her voice softened when she spoke to him, the way her smile lingered half a second longer than necessary. It was never loud, never inappropriate, never crossing a visible line. It was quiet, subtle, the kind of thing only a wife would detect. Olivia tried to shake it off in the beginning. Everyone admired Daniel. He was warm, calm, and had a natural kindness that made people relax around him. He didn't flirt, didn't play games, didn't encourage anything. That wasn't who he was. And it wasn't him she questioned, it was Emily. Emily, who had been a friend for years. Emily, who laughed loudly and loved deeply, but never quite found the right relationship of her own. Emily, who often said she admired Olivia's marriage, but admiration slowly became something else. At dinners, Emily would ask Daniel questions that felt too personal, his dreams, his fears, what he wanted in life. She watched him with a softness Olivia couldn't ignore. And when Daniel spoke, Emily's eyes held an expression that didn't look like simple friendship. It looked like long and quiet, controlled, hidden under polite smiles, but real. Olivia saw it even if no one else did. She tried to push the feeling down to give Emily the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was overthinking. Maybe she was tired. Maybe she was imagining the whole thing. But then there were moments she couldn't brush aside. At a friend's barbecue, Emily had passed Daniel a drink, their fingers brushing slightly. The touch lasted a heartbeat too long. And Olivia caught the look in Emily's eyes, the look of someone wanting something they knew they shouldn't want. It wasn't a crime. It wasn't betrayal. It was human emotion. But Olivia felt the sting all the same. Still, she kept her distance, deciding not to confront anything unless she had to. But the feeling only grew heavier. It reached a point where she couldn't sleep without wondering what was true and what was in her head. One evening, after tossing and turning for hours, she sat up in bed with a clarity she couldn't ignore. If she wanted peace, she had to confront the truth, not aggressively, not angrily, but honestly. She believed in facing things, not hiding from them. So the next afternoon, with a steady hand, she sent the message that would set everything in motion. "Hey, are you free tonight? Come over for dinner." Her heart thumped after sending it. She almost deleted the message, but she didn't. If there was a truth between them, she wanted it out in the open. Not for revenge. Not to humiliate Emily, but to understand her motivations and protect her marriage. Before something silent grew too loud to control, Emily replied quickly, "Of course. What time?" The cheerful tone only made Olivia's stomach twist more. That evening, Olivia stood in the kitchen preparing dinner, trying to keep her breathing steady. The more she thought, the more the weight settled in her chest. She wasn't angry, she was afraid. Afraid of losing control over something that mattered more to her than anything else. Afraid of letting insecurity swallow her. Afraid of letting silence create distance between her and the man she loved. When Daniel arrived home, Al smelled warm and comforting, but the air held a quiet tension. He kissed her cheek, sensing something was different. "You okay?" he asked gently, touching her arm. Olivia forced a soft smile. "I'm fine. Emily's coming for dinner." Daniel froze, confusion passing over his face. "Emily, on a Tuesday night?" "Yes." Olivia turned back to the stove, hiding the heaviness in her eyes. "I thought it would be good." Daniel didn't argue, but his brows stayed drawn together. "Did something happen between you two?" "No," she said. And it was true, nothing had happened. But many small things had built up into something she could no longer ignore. Before Daniel could ask more, the doorbell rang. The sound sent a rush of nerves through Olivia's stomach. She wiped her hands, took a breath, and opened the door. Emily stood there wearing a soft beige sweater, her smile warm and polite. She held a dessert dish wrapped in foil, like this was any ordinary dinner gathering. "Hi, I brought something sweet. I thought it might go well with whatever you're making." Olivia stepped aside. "Come in." Emily's eyes scanned the house, lingering a second longer when they passed Daniel, who offered her a friendly nod. The usual warmth was there, but tonight, Olivia was watching everything. The tone of her voice, the way she carried herself, the way she stood closer to Daniel than she needed to. Dinner started quietly. Too quietly. The clinking of forks filled the room more than conversation did. Daniel tried to lighten the atmosphere, asking Emily about work, about her recent trip to Toronto, about a book she had mentioned last time. Emily responded with her usual bright energy, but there was a nervous edge to her tone Olivia noticed instantly. Emily wasn't stupid. She could feel the shift. She knew something unspoken hung between them halfway through the meal. Emily reached for her napkin just as Daniel reached for the water pitcher. Their hands brushed lightly, a harmless touch, something that could happen between any two people at a dinner table. But Olivia didn't just see the touch, she saw the flicker in Emily's eyes. A flicker that carried emotion, unspoken but unmistakable. A quiet longing tucked behind a mask of politeness. The moment lasted less than a second. But it was enough that Olivia felt something tighten inside her. A quiet ache. A deep breath she had been holding for months. She set her fork down slowly, her mind clearer than ever. She couldn't pretend anymore. "Not after seeing what she saw." "Emily," Olivia said softly, her voice cutting through the silence. "I invited you tonight because there's something I think we should talk about." Daniel looked at her sharply, surprised. Emily froze, her face softening into confusion. "What do you mean?" Olivia kept her eyes steady, even though her heart beat loudly in her chest. "I think you know." Emily blinked, cheeks reddening slightly. "Olivia, if I did something, it's not something you did," Olivia said gently. "It's something you feel." The table went silent. The air grew thick, but not hostile, just heavy with the weight of truth. Daniel stared between them, completely thrown off. "Okay, someone needs to tell me what's going on." Olivia took a breath. This was the moment she had feared and prepared for. The moment she chose honesty over silence. She looked directly at Emily. "I know you have feelings for my husband." Emily's breath caught. Daniel stiffened, and the entire house felt like it paused. Emily opened her mouth, then closed it again, as if the words rebelled against coming out. Her eyes glistened not with guilt, but with shock and emotion that had been carefully hidden for too long. Daniel stared at her, stunned, his confusion quickly shifting into disbelief. "Emily, is that true?" Emily looked down at her hands, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean for it to happen." Olivia felt her heart drop, even though she had already known the truth. Hearing it aloud was a different kind of pain. A validating pain. A necessary pain. Emily swallowed hard, her voice trembling. "I never wanted to hurt you. I never tried to take him from you. But the words wouldn't come out. The emotion was too heavy. The truth too raw. The silence that followed felt like the edge of a cliff. Dangerous, emotional, life-changing. And all Olivia could think was, this conversation was only just beginning. Emily's eyes were wide, and for the first time, she looked vulnerable in front of Olivia and Daniel. The cheerful, confident friend everyone knew seemed smaller somehow, weighed down by the truth she had been hiding for months. She swallowed hard and tried to steady her voice. I never wanted to ruin anything," she admitted, her tone quiet, almost fragile. "I just didn't know how to stop feeling this way." Daniel's confusion deepened. His brows furrowed as he processed Emily's words. "Emily, what do you mean? I thought you were just a friend." His voice was calm but filled with tension. Olivia placed a gentle hand on his arm, signaling him to pause. She had wanted this conversation to be honest, not a blame game. Emily lowered her gaze, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of her napkin. "When you two got married," she whispered, "I was genuinely happy for you. I admired the way Daniel treated you, his kindness, his patience, the way he listened. I guess somewhere along the way, I started wishing for that kind of connection in my own life. I didn't mean for it to be about him. I noticed how much I longed for something similar in my own life." Olivia's heart softened as she listened. It wasn't malicious, it wasn't a threat. Emily wasn't trying to take anything from her. She was just a human being, recognizing something beautiful and wanting it for herself. Olivia felt empathy rise before anger could take root. She had expected defensiveness or confrontation, but instead she found honesty, trembling and real. Daniel exhaled slowly, leaning back in his chair. I care about you, Emily, but you have to understand. I love Olivia. I've never thought of our friendship as anything else. He sounded sincere, yet gentle, aware of the fragile state Emily seemed to be in. Emily nodded quickly, almost relieved, but a shadow lingered in her eyes. I know. I never wanted to interfere. I never wanted to cause trouble. I didn't know how to make it stop. And hiding it. Hiding it made me feel worse. Her voice cracked slightly, but she held herself upright, trying to remain composed. Olivia reached across the table and took Emily's hand, feeling the tension and emotion radiating through her. She squeezed it gently, signaling understanding. It's okay, Emily. I'm not angry. I needed to know the truth. That's why I invited you here. Silence would have been worse for all of us. Emily blinked at her, startled by the grace and maturity in Olivia's words. I don't deserve your kindness, she whispered, shaking her head slightly. Olivia smiled softly. Maybe not, she admitted. But holding on to anger wouldn't help anyone. I care about Daniel. I care about our marriage. But I also care about you as a friend. And tonight? Tonight we can start being honest with each other. Daniel reached over and placed a hand on Olivia's, holding it gently. His gaze shifted between them. You've really handled this beautifully, he said quietly. I don't know if I could have. Olivia gave him a small smile, feeling a wave of relief. The worst part, ignoring the situation, was over. Emily squeezed Olivia's hand back for a moment before letting go. I'll need to step back for a while, she admitted, her voice soft but firm. Not because I don't want to be friends, but because I need to fix myself. Deal with my own feelings and not interfere with your marriage. I don't want to hurt either of you. Olivia nodded, appreciating Emily's honesty. I understand, she said gently. Sometimes stepping back is the only way to move forward. It's brave to face your feelings instead of pretending they don't exist. There was a silence in the room, but it wasn't heavy. It was a calm, reflective quiet, the kind that comes after a storm passes. Daniel exhaled, his hand still on Olivia's. I'm proud of both of you, he said softly. This could have gone so wrong, but you're both handling it with respect and honesty. Emily gave a small smile, a mixture of sadness and relief. I never wanted to ruin your happiness. You two have something rare. I see it, I admire it, and I want you to hold on to it. Olivia's chest tightened at Emily's words, not from fear, but from recognition of her own feelings. She reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair from Emily's face in a small, caring gesture. We're going to be okay, she said softly. Tonight was hard, but I think it's necessary. I think this honesty makes us stronger. Daniel leaned back, letting out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Yeah, he said quietly. Stronger. That's the right word. Emily looked at him, then at Olivia, her own eyes glistening. I'll work on myself, she promised. I'll step back, but I hope one day we can all be friends again, without any tension, without any hidden feelings. Olivia smiled. It'll take time, but honesty is the first step. The tension in the room finally started to dissolve, replaced by a quiet, reflective calm. It wasn't a perfect ending, feelings don't disappear overnight, but it was a start. It was an honest start. Olivia felt a weight lift from her chest, realizing that she had confronted a fear instead of letting it grow in silence. Daniel pulled Olivia into a gentle hug, wrapping his arms around her as she leaned against him. I love you, he whispered into her hair. I know, she replied softly. And tonight reminded me why. Emily, sensing the warmth and connection between them, took a step back. She smiled, a small but genuine expression. You two really have something special, she said quietly. Don't ever forget that. Olivia nodded, feeling her heart fill with gratitude and clarity. This night, difficult as it had been, had strengthened her resolve. It had reminded her of the importance of honesty, communication, and understanding in a marriage. It had also reminded her that people's feelings are complicated, and sometimes the best way to handle them is with compassion. Daniel squeezed her hand, his own expression softening. "I think this made us closer," he said. "We faced something challenging, and we faced it together." "Yes," Olivia agreed. "We did. And that matters more than anything else." Emily, still standing by the door, took a deep breath. She had faced her own truth, admitted it, and felt the first flicker of relief. She knew the road ahead would involve space and reflection, but she also knew she had done the right thing by being honest. Before leaving, Emily looked back one last time. Her eyes held a mixture of admiration, longing, and genuine care. "Take care of each other," she said softly. "You're lucky to have what you have." Olivia gave her a reassuring smile. "We will. And thank you for being honest." The door closed behind Emily, leaving Olivia and Daniel in the quiet of their home. The soft hum of the evening felt comforting now, a stark contrast to the tension that had filled the air just an hour ago. They stood together in the living room, holding on to each other, feeling the bond of their marriage strengthened in ways that small daily routines never could. Olivia rested her head against Daniel's chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. The night had been emotional, revealing, and at times difficult, but it had also been necessary. She realized that the challenges they faced didn't always have to threaten their relationship. Sometimes challenges were opportunities to understand, to forgive, to grow stronger together. Daniel kissed the top of her head gently, whispering again, "I love you." "And I love you," Olivia replied, closing her eyes for a moment, letting herself feel the warmth and reassurance of his words. The house, once filled with unspoken tension, was now calm. The difficult conversation had passed. Honesty had been spoken. Feelings had been acknowledged. Boundaries had been set. And in that calm, Olivia understood something vital. Love isn't just about passion or moments of joy. It's about trust, understanding, and facing hard truths together as they stood there. Holding each other in silence, Olivia realized that tonight had tested their relationships as they had passed. They were stronger, wiser, and more connected. And for the first time in weeks, she felt completely at peace. Emily's presence, once a source of uncertainty, had now become a catalyst for clarity. She had faced her feelings honestly and respectfully. Olivia had confronted hers, and Daniel had shown patience, love, and understanding throughout. The trio had navigated a delicate emotional landscape, and although Emily would step back to find her own balance, the bonds between all three were now based on honesty rather than hidden tension. Olivia smiled faintly, thinking about the evening. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't simple, but it was real, and reality was always better than pretending. Daniel hugged her tighter, whispering, "No matter what, we face everything together." "Yes," Olivia whispered back, feeling the depth of their connection more clearly than ever. Together. The night stretched on, quiet and calm. They didn't need to speak anymore. Their hearts understood each other. Their marriage had been tested, and in truth, it had grown. They had faced uncertainty, emotion, and unspoken tension, and had emerged stronger. Outside, Emily walked into the night, her heart lighter than when she had arrived. She knew she had done the right thing. She had confessed her feelings, faced the truth, and accepted the need to step back. The path ahead for her would require patience and reflection, but she felt the first true release of emotional weight she had carried for so long, and inside, Olivia and Daniel remained, holding on to each other, embracing the peace and reassurance that comes only from honest hearts and shared love. The night ended quietly, but it ended with clarity, understanding, and the kind of strength that only truth can bring.